Welcome to the Leadership Project Live. I'm your host, Mick Spears. Today, we're going to be talking about the difference between a victim mindset and a creator mindset and how you can take back control of your life. So stay tuned. We're going to go through the basics of this, but finish strongly with some practical tips on how you can change your mindset and 5 fundamental quotes that will change the way you see the world. So stay tuned. So welcome back to the Leadership Project Live. So today's focus is going to be on this concept about a victim mindset or a creator mindset. The way that we see the world is what influences our perspective, our happiness, and whether we're successful or not in your life and in the way that we react with other human beings. So thank you for joining us today. We are streaming out on LinkedIn Live, we're on YouTube, and we're also streaming to Facebook. So wherever you're joining us today, thank you for your time today. If you do have any questions or comments, please do go ahead and put those into the comments and we'll be able to share that with the audience and also come back and give you an answer related to that. So once again, thank you. Let's get straight into it today. I don't want to mess around and take up your time. So I'm going to get straight into the content today. So your mindset is everything. The way that you see the world, the way that you have perspectives on everything that happens around you. And I've got to tell you that there's almost nothing more powerful than the story that you tell yourself in your own mind. This is how we see the world. The inner narrative. The inner narrative determines whether we are happy, whether we see joy, whether we see fear, whether we see the negative, whether we see the positive. So we're really talking here today about our own perspectives and how well we can control our mindset to govern whether we are a high performer or someone that goes around complaining about the world. When I break this down, I talk about your own mindset. So your individual perspective as you walk around this world and interact with other human beings. But if you're a team leader, it can also be your team member's mindset, or it could be a friend. It might be a friend or a family member that you see falling into habits where their mindset is getting away from them. So what does that look like? How do you help another person when maybe they're struggling with their mindset? So we'll talk a little bit about that as we go as well. And then there's a collective mindset. So if you are a team leader, what would you describe the collective mindset of the team? Is it a positive one? Is it a negative one? Is it a bickering one? Is it a constructive one? So when we talk about these mindsets on the leadership project, and we do bridge a lot the difference between leadership and personal mastery to bring those together for high performance, we're talking about yourself, we're talking about the others that work with you, and then we're talking about the collective. Is it a collectively positive environment where people are looking constructively at the future? Leadership mindsets that we talk about. We talk a lot about the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset, and we're going to cover that in next week's show. We talk about resilience and our ability to bounce back. We talk about whether we're able to master our fears and overcome our limiting beliefs. And for today's discussion, we're going to be talking about this concept of the victim mindset versus the creator mindset. The victim mindset and the creator mindset really does influence the way that you do see the world and whether you're looking at the world through a positive lens or a negative lens. As part of that discussion, we'll talk about this concept called the spheres of control and our spheres of influence. And stay tuned to the end where I'm going to give you 5 powerful quotes from the ancient world of Stoicism that can help you in today's modern world to address the world with a positive mindset as you look forward. These quotes are ones that I live by every day that I do really stop and reflect and get me to rethink and refocus on problems at hand to see what it actually means. So Stoicism, 5 really practical tips coming up towards the end. So let's get right into it. What is the difference between this thing called a victim mindset and creator mindset? First of all, I want to address one thing. When I talk about victim, we're not talking about victims of crime. We're not talking about where someone has perpetrated a crime upon you. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about just whether we take it upon ourselves about the way that we interpret other people's events or events around us as to whether we feel like we're a victim of our circumstances or not. So in a victim mindset, you'll find things like someone always finding that it's always someone else's fault. If something goes on in my world and things don't go to plan, it's never my fault. It's always someone else's fault. That is a classic hallmark of what a victim mindset looks like. The second one is they blame their circumstances. It's always something that happened. It was some trigger event that was out of their control that led to this downfall. And a person with a victim mindset believes that their destination, their results are determined by others. They don't take control. They don't take accountability. It's always, I'm at the behest of someone else. If I have a bad day, it's someone else's fault. If I have a good day, yeah, maybe that was someone else's fault as well. That's what a victim mindset would look like. And someone with a victim mindset is always tending to look at what's wrong with the world instead of what's right. So they see problems in everything. In any relationship, they're always heading towards the negative. So what does a creator mindset do? And someone with a creator mindset, how do they see the world differently? Someone with a creator mindset believes that their destination is in their own control. They take control of their own mindset. They take control of their own happiness. They take control of their own results and take full responsibility for that. And what they'll do is they'll do what they can with what they've got from where they are. So instead of bickering about what they don't have, they look at what they do have and make the most of it. They make the most of any situation. You could, put it to analogy around cards. They deal with the cards that have been dealt with them and make the best possible hand with the cards that have been dealt with them. That's the hallmark of a creator mindset. And they're often looking for what is right rather than what is wrong. So instead of looking for the problem, they're looking for the opportunity. These are the things that really resonate with what a creator mindset is all about. So how do you diagnose yourself? And by the way, anyone can fall on either side of this line. It's not just a hard and fixed rule that you're always a creator or you're always a victim. But if you're walking around the world and you're wanting to diagnose, where are you today? Where is your mindset today? Ask yourself these kind of questions. How do you react to setbacks? Do you react positively to setbacks, or do you tend to drop your bundle? If you drop your bundle, chances are you've got a victim mindset. If you bounce back quickly and go, okay, well, that's happened now, let's move on, you've got a creator mindset. Do you often find yourself blaming external factors? So if something doesn't go well, you don't do any reflection on what you could have done differently. You always just blame others or blame things around you. If you're in the blaming game, you've got a victim mindset at that moment. If you're able to take personal accountability and go, okay, this didn't go to plan. What could I have done differently to get a different result in the future? That's a creator mindset. Another one, do you often feel powerless? That, it doesn't matter how hard I try, it really doesn't matter. Everything's always going to be outside my control anyway. If you're always walking around the world feeling powerless, you're also going to have this situation of being in a victim mindset. If you always feel that life is unfair, and guess what? Life can be unfair. So this is not about whether it's true or not, but if you're always feeling like life is unfair no matter what, you're also falling prey to a victim mindset. And if you're always blaming others, it doesn't matter what happens. If you kick your toe walking around your house and you blame someone else because they, I don't know, they left a coffee cup in the wrong place or whatever the case may be, that is a victim mindset and not about taking personal accountability. And if you always find yourself focusing on problems, you can only see what's wrong, you can't see what's right with the world, you also have a victim mindset. So how do we switch that around? How do we bring that towards more a creative mindset? Well, someone with a creative mindset takes responsibility. They take responsibility for their own happiness. They take responsibility and accountability for their own results. They take responsibility for their own actions. So if you want to get out of a victim mindset and be more towards a creative mindset, you need to start taking action. You need to start looking at, what can I do differently? What is my personal accountability in this? What is my responsibility? Someone with a creative mindset focuses on solutions, not the problem. So they are able to diagnose the problem, but then they're able to quickly reframe and go, well, what am I going to do about it? They take the responsibility, they take the action, and they focus on solutions. And when anything goes wrong, they see it as an opportunity. I'll tell a story of something that happened to me this week where me and my team were looking to go for a bus trip. First of all, the bus didn't turn up. Then the replacement bus didn't come to the right location. And then thirdly, our final bus ended up with a flat tire. So a victim mindset would be pretty darn down about this, but a creator mindset takes this opportunity, go, well, what can we do with this? Can we use this time differently while we're waiting for the bus? Do we realize that these incidents are leading us to the situation where it's building our resilience? It's building our resilience. It's building our adaptability where we can adapt to the situation. Yeah, I'm sure none of us wanted the situation to have 3 different bus incidents in one day. But the fact that that happened, we didn't drop our bundle. We made the most of the situation. That's what a creative mindset looks like. So let's get on to some of the techniques. How can you master your mindset and build in a creator mindset? The first technique I want to talk to you about is the power of reframing. The power of reframing is to take the words that you're saying, whether it's your inner narrative or even the things that you're saying out loud, and to reframe it. If you find yourself always saying what can't be done, or always saying, oh, it's not possible, you can reframe that by going, oh, that's interesting. So what can be done? What is possible? What is in our control? Or if we're finding ourselves in a situation where we're making assumptions about the situation that we find ourselves in, we can ask ourselves, do I know this to be true? We often walk around making assumptions about what other people are thinking. You only said that because, or that person only did this because. But do we know that to be true? So we can challenge ourselves to reframe from it can't be done to what can be done. It's not possible to what is possible. And to focus on what is in our control and asking ourselves challenging questions about the assumptions that we make. Now, I said at the start of the show that we're dealing with your own mindset. We're also dealing with the mindset of our team members and our collective mindset. So you might find other people falling into these traps. You might be a team leader and someone is always coming to you with something that can't be done. It's not possible. And in that victim mindset, here's some powerful techniques that you can use as a leader to help them reframe. That's interesting. So you're saying it can't be done. What can be done? What can we do with what we've got from where we are? And you can reframe it into a positive conversation quite quickly. So the power of reframing is your first technique, either personally or using that technique to help others with their mindset. The next technique is what we call spheres of control and spheres of influence. We need to make sure that we're staying in our sphere of control and sphere of influence. So if you look at this diagram here, you'll see that you've got the sphere of control, what is in our control, the sphere of influence, what is something that we can influence. Our sphere of concern are things that are in our immediate vicinity that we should be concerned about, but just be aware. We can't control it, we can't influence it, but we need to be aware. This is our situational awareness of things that can go wrong. And then outside the bubble altogether is the things that shouldn't concern us at all. It doesn't really impact us. The severity of whatever that is not impactful. The probability of it happening is low. These are the things that we should not be concerned about and not be too worried about. So we need to ask ourselves, what can we control? What can't we control? What can we influence? What can't we influence? And what do we need to do with the things that are either things of concern or of no concern? And thinking about where we need to focus most of our time and energy. And quite often we've got this all out of sync. So people catastrophizing about things that really aren't that important. Either the impact of the event is really not that critical, or the probability of that catastrophic event happening is very low, and we find ourselves worried about it all the time. This is not good for our mindset. We need to focus in on the things that we can control and not so much focus on the things that we can't control. And I'm going to talk about some of the tips here in a moment. But one of the ones that I'm really referring to here when I talk about control, the really big tip that you can take today is that you cannot control someone else's behavior. So if someone around you is behaving like a jerk, you cannot control that. What you can control is how you respond to that behavior. You can control how you respond to that behavior. And depending on how close they are to you and what kind of relationship you have with them, you may be in a position to influence their behavior, not control it, but influence behavior. Draw that behavior to their attention so that they're aware that their behavior is having an impact on others. And then if we find ourselves in this outer circle where we're deeply worried about things that we shouldn't be concerned about, that have minimal impact, low probability of ever happening, and we have no possibility of controlling it or influencing it, we're allowing our mindset to get away on ourselves. And this is where we need to get back into our spheres of influence. Now, at the start of the show, I promised you that I'd bring you 5 powerful quotes that can help you with this reframing, that can help you move from a victim mindset through to a creator mindset. And I'm going to share those with you now. And the majority of them come from the ancient world of Stoicism. Stoicism is something that's often misunderstood. And if you look deep into it, there's something in here for all of us, and it still applies in a modern world. So let's start with this first one. You can't control what has already happened. You can only control what you do from this moment onwards. So this is your temporal one. This is your time-based element. If we find ourselves worried about things that have already happened, we can't change those things. No amount of regret can change the past. No amount of anxiety can change our future. The only thing that we can do is what we do now and what we commit ourselves to do into the future. So you can't control what has already happened. You can only change what you do from this moment onwards. So let's use an example. Let's say that you're on a diet and you've committed to stop eating burgers and having beers. And I say that because that's what I had for dinner last night. If I beat myself up about that, I might then go into a spiral where I go, I've blown the diet now. I might as well have another burger today and 2 burgers tomorrow and 3 burgers the day after that. That's a victim mindset. And that's letting my failure or my slip up last night influence what I do going forward. So I can't control that I had a burger last night. It's already happened. What I can do is focus on my nutrition and fitness today. And it's not about being perfect every day. It's about consistency over time. And if I remind myself on this can be very powerful and I can take control of my life. Okay, next one. This one may be hard for you to believe, but we suffer more in our imagination than in reality. We suffer more in our imagination than in reality. So this catastrophization of things that we dream up in our mind about all of the things that are going to go wrong, the fear of that is usually worse than what the eventual event is. So we suffer more in our imagination than in our reality, whether it is the fear of an event, or it could be our interpretation of someone else. If we think that someone else hates us, we start having this mindset get away on us where confirmation bias kicks in and we see all of the signs that confirm to us that that person hates us. So we're suffering about that relationship in our imagination far more than in reality. And this is where one of those questions I mentioned before comes in. Do I know this to be true? The next one, God, please grant me the serenity to accept what I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. If you get nothing else from today's live stream, take this away. God, grant me the serenity to accept what I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. If you can master this one, you will be a happy individual. You will be a high performance individual. You will go around the world with a positive attitude. Next one. You are responsible for your happiness, not someone else. You are responsible for your happiness. In any event, you get to choose your response to that event. You get to choose how you see the world and whether you bounce back and move forward, whether you see the positive in what just happened, or whether you see the negative in what just happened. It is you that is responsible for your own happiness, not anyone else. And finally, this is the one that we're talking about before. You cannot control someone else's behavior, but you can control how you respond. So if someone is behaving like a jerk, this happens. Life happens. Human beings are complex. You cannot control someone else's behavior, but you can control how you respond. And this can deeply influence how you go about this. All right, we've got a comment coming through, doubling down on you are responsible for your own happiness. Thank you, Say. Fully agree. And she's obviously watching there on LinkedIn. So thank you so much for sharing this. And she's also giving some thanks. She is my wife. It's wonderful to see that she's watching the show as well. So thank you so much for the support. So you're responsible for your own happiness. You cannot control someone else's behavior. You can only control how you respond. So that's your final takeaway from today. Please, please, please take away these things that we're talking about here. Take away these 5 final quotes and remember that you are the one that's in the control of your own mindset and the way that you see the world. So I hope you enjoyed today's show. We'll be bringing you a weekly discussion. We hope that you join into the discussion on the Leadership Project Live. You can join us and you can add comments and questions like the way Say just did now. Or if you're watching the replay, please go ahead and add some comments because we do watch the show as well. We watch the comments back and we can respond to you after times as well. Now, in the next show, we are going to go into the the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. So once you've gotten through this concept of the the victim mindset versus creator mindset, we also need to think about whether we've got a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. And there's going to be something in that for everyone as well. So once again, thank you for joining us today. We hope you got something out of today's show, and join us for the very next episode next week. Thank you.